Trump's tweet after he saw verifiable lies of Julie Kelly. Biden tried to kill me. Can you believe they authorized deadly force? They just tried to kill President Trump. They tried to kill President.
Fox News ran with it, even though it was later reported, as you said, as standard operating procedure. It's been the case for 24 years. It was the case for Biden's consensual search of his home. And by the way, the FBI coordinated with Secret Service to pick a day where Trump wasn't at Mar-A-Lago. So even if they wanted to assassinate him, they went about it the worst possible way.
You can't do anything to buck anything relating to Donald Trump. That echo chamber is probably one of the strongest politically that have ever existed.
It is a humongous echo chamber, and you're never going to get...
This is so extraordinary. Over and over again, we see that the Democrats charge the Republicans with things that they are actually doing. And this happens over and over again. Now, the FBI and the Democrats keep saying things like Trump is a threat to democracy, but Biden is authorizing deadly force against his political opponent.
Is that Donald Trump is now trying to fundraise off a false accusation that suggests that President Biden authorized his assassination during a search of his Mar-A-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida, nearly 2 years ago. The former president sent out an email yesterday to members on his mailing list with this subject line: Biden's DOJ was authorized to shoot me. Trump and his allies have pointed to a recently unsealed court filing which describes a policy statement outlining the standard operating procedure by which the FBI is authorized to use deadly force if deemed necessary during any situation when a search warrant is indeed executed. It was not unique to the FBI's search of his Mar-a-Lago property, and it's actually intended to limit the use of deadly force. Attorney General Merrick Garland yesterday called Trump's allegation extremely dangerous.
That allegation is false, and it is extremely dangerous. The document that is being referred to in the allegation is the Justice Department standard policy limiting the use of force. As the FBI advises, it is part of the standard operations plan for searches, and in fact, it was even used in the consensual search of President Biden's home.
The Attorney General there makes a good point that President Biden's home, the same standard applied. So
stay up here, stay on the desk. Look at this. Look at this huge, this monstrosity of a beast. Hi. Oh my gosh. He's heckin' chonkin'. Are you looking to, can you do that face rubs? No, he's leaving. Oh, look at the chair though. You, this guy. He's just taunting me. What do you want? What are you here for?
Well, I'm here. I didn't know that you heard, but Biden had ordered his own assassination.
Of himself or of Trump?
Of himself, yeah.
Oh, why is that?
It's a bit of a meme, but did you miss the whole discourse about the operations order where there was supposedly an assassination attempt against Trump? Well, that's what was being alleged by MAGA universe.
I saw a couple people, I think, in my chat mentioned something about
you don't follow me, do you?
I do follow you. I just don't. I haven't been doing. I've been getting ready for this.
I think you follow me. I think I would know.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah, pretty sure. Because when I click on your profile, it doesn't say you're following me. I'm not.
That means that I don't follow you.
Yeah.
Well, I should follow you. I would be. Yeah. Like choosing not.
You don't have to.
Well, but I mean, I would. I just hold on. I feel like I've retweeted you and shit before. Why am I not following?
You have. I think. But that's probably because someone else that you're following.
Okay.
Tweet something that's
there. You go. Yeah. You got it.
Anyway, if you had known, if you had followed me, you would have seen the discourse. But essentially, when they executed the warrant in Mar-a-Lago, you remember that back in the day, 2 years ago?
I do indeed. Yeah.
There was attached to the warrant was an operations order that kind of described how the FBI was supposed to conduct their search, and part of that operations order included like the deadly self-defense policy of the DOJ, which is really just a deadly self-defense policy as elaborated by the Supreme Court and just like case law and stuff like that, which we've been at great length about deadly self-defense or deadly force, essentially. And the MAGA universe started by this fraud and phony name of Julie Kelly, who tweets a bunch of bullshit on a regular basis, pretending it's quote unquote reporting. all of MAGA Twitter, like bots, chomped at the bit to declare that Biden had attempted to assassinate Donald Trump because it was executed under his watch as commander-in-chief, and because somehow this order anticipated or thought that it was going to be conceivable that there would be deadly force applied to Trump.
Okay.
Did you remember that part or no?
I remember seeing a couple people talking about it, but I haven't followed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're unhinged, and that policy has nothing to do with ordering or authorizing the use of force against Donald Trump. Donald Trump wasn't even there on the day of the raid. They knew he wasn't going to be there. They knew his family wasn't going to be there. They coordinated with his attorneys before they executed the warrant. They coordinated between the Secret Service before they executed the warrant. And this is just one example of many instances where it's demonstrably the case that the allegations, the conspiracy essentially that MAGA is alleging is incorrect, and that this deadly self-defense or deadly force policy is standard and is applied to every search warrant at the very minimum, but including other things that are not search warrants that are just voluntary searches. For example, Merrick Garland came out and said, and other FBI agents corroborated, that the very same deadly force policy was used in Biden's voluntary search of his own residence. And that you would think that would debunk the allegation or the conspiracy that Biden was going after Trump for.
Oh, I'm not even thinking that. The debunking for me would be that if they wanted to assassinate him, he would be dead. I don't think Donald Trump, a U.S. citizen living in the United States of America, is surviving an assassination attempt by the United States special agencies. That's like immediately obvious to me. But I know what you mean. Yeah, it's also consistent in other things too.
They don't care, and it's actually disgusting. In my some of the worst people are these quote unquote professionals or reporters that masquerade and pretend to do the work of reporting and pretend to do the work.
Tell me about it.
What do you think about?
Or no, I've seen and other things. Yeah, that people claim. Yeah, a lot of it is just stuff that gets. I think it might be a desire to be first. Newspapers wanted to get the story out by 4 a.m., 5 a.m. When is your final edit before you start printing? So that's your time crunch. But now the time crunch is second by second by second. So I think a lot of people end up just recycling and re-reporting what other people say.
But it has real world effects, and they don't back down after it's been debunked. So surely there's going to be someone at DGG who has a screenshot of Trump's tweet after he saw the bullshit misinformation, verifiable lies of Julie Kelly. He tweeted something unhinged on America First Social, whatever that thing's called, where he was like, Biden tried to kill me. They were trying to kill me. Huge bullshit, but ramifications, because now the leading candidate for the Republicans, obviously the presumptive nominee, is saying that Biden is attempting to kill him.
Sure.
And as a result of that tweet or that truth or whatever, that the truth being in quotations, there's been a motion now in the Mar-A-Lago case by Jack Smith to gag him from stopping those kinds of malicious lies about FBI agents and stuff.
Good luck. Yeah.
He
needs to start. I'm sorry. It sounds mean, but he needs to start getting punished for breaking the gag stuff. I already think that the New York stuff is. Did you? Speaking of conspiracy theories, you're aware that the stuff that they were tweeting out about that judge's daughter, that Twitter account isn't even his daughter's. That was a conspiracy theory that Laura Loomer fell for and started tweeting out because she changed her Twitter account I think 5 or 6 years ago or something. She changed it a long time ago when Breitbart went after her, and then somebody else took the name, and then they changed it to a profile picture of Trump behind bars. And Laura Loomer said, "Oh wow, this is the daughter of the judge. Look at how biased he is because of his daughter's Twitter profile." But it's not even his daughter. That.
I don't.
Something that I think is incredible.
Wake up and look at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah,
I just don't get it.
Well, unfortunately, I do get that. They're just shameless. The stuff that is going on though right now is it sounds shitty, but when people talk about Ukraine, Russia, and people say things like, "If we do this with Ukraine, you're starting World War III. If you let them strike into Russia, you're starting World War III." But the reality is people don't say this immediately, but when you acquiesce to people who are bad actors, that's what is actually starting horrible conflict, because now people think they can do things with no consequences. And when people say that if we take Donald Trump and if we punish him for this, it's going to be horrible and we're going to start actually about, no, what's destroying democracy is allowing a guy to stampede unimpeded, breaking law after law, gag order after gag order, and just doing unhinged crazy shit with zero accountability. That's
they're letting him it feels like he's being treated so well by this deep state. If they were really trying to go after him in some corrupt or crooked way.
Yeah. The deep state's not giving him 1 year to turn those archives over, right? 1 year to turn those things over to NARA. The deep state doesn't do that, right?
Insane. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think they do. Yeah. It's a little bit shocking the conscience to me. I understand that there are people who are not as online as we are, or we're not read up on it.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that this is a horse race between Trump and Biden always it will blow my mind in that sense, that ordinary people don't see Trump or don't care that Trump is as corrupt as he is. And I don't know if that's a failing of the people or of our institutions or what it is, but it's pretty blackpilling. On the other hand, I do think that it's not all horrible, but no matter what the outcome is, there's some humongous percentage of our population that's bought into this. Millions and millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And you interact with them every day, and their spokespeople, like the Hodge twins. What do you think of that?
The problem isn't even really the Hodge twins. Like, these are people who are, they just like uncritically basically parrot whatever they hear from other people. I think the real criminals I shouldn't say criminals, that's loaded. The real like horrible people are like the Alex Joneses and the Tim Pools and the people who are supposed to be the media reporter guys who are fucking up, I think those are the really bad actors. Because when people, like if somebody listens to the Hodge twins, like as much as I don't like it, theoretically they can say, okay, well, I mean, like we're fitness influencers and we do like media sometimes. Like, what am I supposed to do? And you could argue, well, you got responsibility platform, blah, blah, blah. But like if you're marketing yourself as a news media person, then you absolutely have a responsibility. And I think most people just utterly fail in those regards.
Do you f with Tim Pool still or not?
I mean, like, I'll go on a show. I appreciate that he has me on to argue and stuff, but I think that he's one of the largest purveyors of misinformation, like, on the internet.
Do you like him personally? Is there a MAGA influencer that you like personally?
Most of them are okay personally, but I mean, it's not personal issues that are driving me to think that they're destroying the fucking the country, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope that at some point in the next 2 or 3 months, you're able to do a little pivot to domestic politics.
Yeah, once I come back from Israel, I think I'm ditching this stupid thing, and then I want to focus more on election stuff.
Yeah,
man, the immigration stuff was pretty disappointing. I'm gonna be honest.
What'd you find?
I don't know. I thought it was gonna be like a hugely complicated, web of a bunch of different crazy things, but it really seems like the huge issue just has to do right now, like a really big issue has to do with the legality around asylum seeking. And the Republicans are never going to do anything about it because they want to keep the election and the border open for Trump. And that's about it. But it seems like there was a huge bipartisan bill in Congress that seems like it would have gone pretty far in it trying to address all of these issues. And it was just shut down for like no reason. It's like, okay.
They actually brought it back up again, funny enough. Like the Senate resurrected that bipartisan border bill that Trump had killed. And then Republicans voted against it again in the Senate, including James Langford, the guy who wrote the bill. He's like, yep, I support the provisions in the bill even now, but it's a political prop and I'm not going to support Democrats using it as a political prop.
Oh, he voted against it.
Yeah, he voted against his own bill.
That's funny. Yeah, the immigration, I was kind of disappointed by some of your coverage that I saw, Stephen, if I'm being real, because it seemed like you were just going at like immigration trends and understanding. You just like went right to the question of why they're coming and how we can stop them, as opposed to
that's not even
the structure of immigration law. Or am I wrong about your coverage?
You're absolutely wrong, but I'm guessing you just missed the early streams. Like I spent a lot of time going through like, what are the different groups of immigrants that are allowed in? Why do we do immigration? What are like the different caps that are set in different areas? What type of immigration is capped and uncapped? What type of immigration is the president authorized to do unilaterally versus not unilaterally? Yeah, we went through all of it. It was really boring.
But not the structure of like removal and asylum and what those hearings look like, and
maybe not into the hearings themselves, but like the structure of like if you show up at any port of entry, you're allowed to declare yourself an asylum seeker. You're guaranteed some day in court essentially for it, and if there's a backup, you basically get a voucher. You're released until that court date happens, then you show up for it.
So is your position that you want to get rid of asylum?
I don't even know internationally if that's allowed. No, I don't think my position is to get rid of asylum. I think one, I'm going to parrot most of what was in that bill. We need more judges to work through that process, number one. And number two, it seems like the process for seeking asylum, that initial bar might need to be a bit higher. And then the third thing is I don't know, or I never saw a good justification from Biden for why we got rid of like remain in Mexico. I feel like that probably needs to come back. Although I know there were a lot of court challenges that it was looking to face, I think, but then it got axed. Yeah.
But even that, when people like focus on remain in Mexico, the official reason given for its rescindment was it was jeopardizing our relationship with Mexico. It was taking up a bunch of bandwidth, and it was a very small part of the problem. I think at its height, Remain in Mexico had something like, I think it's called MPP for those, or something like that, for those of you who are looking up the official name, at like 30, 40,000 people, which is a drop in the bucket compared to how much asylum act or how many people are crossing the border. And so whatever system it is, Remain in Mexico or any of the Trump executive actions are not going to be the thing that is going to stop the flow of immigration.
Yeah, probably not that much, yeah.
He tried and he wasn't able to. And so I really do think you need new legislation in terms of more resources, more money, more funding, more judges. Yes, better border security, all that stuff. I think Destiny. I think a wall. Actually, is that
me.
Correct?
If you want to, you can. But here's the issue. Also with immigration stuff, the issue with immigration is when people ask for remain in Mexico, they don't want a policy whereby we can vet the asylum-seeking people more. They just don't want any of them. But they always try to hide it with these other like things. Like they like remain in Mexico because they want them to remain in Mexico forever. So it's already hard because you're already arguing with people that are all coming at it in bad faith if they're conservative. And then the second part too is that like if people want walls or whatever, like that's fine. You can have the wall. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a secured border, but the wall won't help the fact that right now, my understanding is the thing that's bogging down the system a ton is all of the asylum seeking. That like they don't need to sneak into the country. They can just go to a port of entry. It's like, hey, I'm seeking asylum. I want to do this claim, and then boom, you're in. Like the wall doesn't help with that.
Yeah. And to be clear, you would accept most of these people as economic migrants. You just would want them to come legally. Is that right?
Well, yeah. Well, but what you just said implied a way different. Because
what do you mean?
Well, because accepting more people as immigrants probably requires a whole change of like the cap of how many immigrants we let in per year, and then the structure by where they come from, right? Because I think per year we're not supposed to take more than 7% from any particular country.
If you could change the law, yeah, there are different country caps and visa caps.
Yeah. If I could personally, yeah, I'm way more in favor of more economic immigration, but I know that that'd be a radical departure from our current immigration policy.
Have you reached out to David Beyer, that Cato Institute immigration expert, to like reschedule your conversation, because he could dig into the intricacies of this, like even like the Remain in Mexico canard. You know, President Biden wanted to revoke Remain in Mexico, but then he was basically compelled to due to legal challenges, so he reinstated it for 2022, and it really didn't affect the situation at the border. So like there's spurious data to suggest that Remain in Mexico is effective, and other data to suggest otherwise. So I really think it'd be like a good conversation for you to have with this guy.
Yeah, I don't even know. It sounds like it would just be him filling me in on some stuff, but the conversation in the United States is so far behind what's actually bogging down immigration. It's a bunch of conservatives that are like desperately clinging to a bunch of different buzzwords or slogans who just really just want to cut immigration. Like that's really all they want. Like that's the conservative position, is to just like decrease it, at least brown immigration, as much as possible. So I don't know. Like
they're racist?
I don't know if they're.
That's what you just said.
Yeah, I don't know if they're racist or not, but like that is what they're asking for.
You just said it. Come on.
No, I don't care if they're racist or not, but that's what they want.
I know, but
that's what they're saying.
You said that you want no more brown immigration.
Yeah, immigration from Mexico, South America. Yeah, that's like all the freaking out is like over that. Seems like
because they're brown, or they just happen to be brown.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't care. I'm just saying that is what's happening. I'm not here to argue. I didn't say because they're racist. I just want to cut the up like apparently all the brown immigration. I don't know why. I don't know what the driver is for that. I say that because it doesn't feel like the Conservative Party today is as racist as the last one. It might just be like a super xenophobic nationalistic thing more than anything else. I don't know. I don't care. But in practice, like that seems like all they want to do.
You don't care if Trump is racist, or you don't have a position that he's racist?
I don't have a position, and it's just not part of what I would argue. I'm not going to sit here and argue with the person over whether or not they're racist.
Whether he is racist.
Yeah.
Do you have a private opinion about that, though? Even if you don't have a public one?
I don't think Trump is racist. I don't think he can be. Growing up in New York and working with that many types of people and everything, and the TV business and everything, there's no shot that guy's personally racist. But I think he'll throw like nationalities under the bus if he feels like he's getting on something 100%. He might have like some old timey racist feelings, like that whole like shithole countries thing or whatever. He might have assumed stuff like that. But I doubt he's like, no way does a guy come from New York City, living there that long, working in TV and everything, and like is super racist, and that doesn't come out somewhere or nobody's heard about it, and it's just like, yeah.
So Pisco, I want to ask you two things about the deadly force policy thing and thing.
Sure, yeah. So, and the liar Julie Kelly, fake reporter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar sitting members of Congress. Eric Swalwell, the Democratic congressman, he called on members, I think it was like the oversight committee, to condemn it, and no one would condemn that. But the one that surprised me, I mean, not to call him out, but was that lawyer guy, not Rakita, but the other one, defending
Logic.
Yeah, that guy.
That surprised you?
I don't know the guy that well. He didn't seem like an out-and-out conspiracy theorist. I mean, obviously, he was a Trump apologist.
This is the guy who said Obama was the worst president in the history of the union.
Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. So, like,
wait, there's no way that he said that. Really?
He absolutely said that to my face, yeah. And he said that Obama is the reason for the split in the country, that Obama was evil, in fact, that Obama should be in jail.
Yeah. Jesus.
Do you, the reason I say that is I don't know, I wonder how relevant this thing will be in a week or so. I know Trump's fundraising off of it. I know it dominated national headlines. Do you think it'll be a flash in the pan, or I don't
think it matters, because it kind of, it gets to or distills the kind of conflict that already predates and is overdetermined by a bunch of other things, in terms of like people who think the government's corrupt or deep state, all that stuff. They're all buying it, and those who think it's ridiculous, it's not going to make much impact. But I think it's indicative or paradigmatic of a very clear, disprovable bullshit conspiracy.
Well, careful.
Good.
Don't say disprovable. Nothing is disprovable. Like, they really did try to shoot and kill him, but the right American patriot stopped.
You're absolutely right.
Baseless is true. Yeah.
Yeah. You corrected me, and thank you for. I'm wrong there. Just like you were wrong about PEMDAS, right?
I wasn't wrong about PEMDAS.
And about the cookies. Just kidding. Sorry, we don't have to go. Yeah. So I think it's a baseless conspiracy that's very evident, that there's nothing to back it, and that it's very evident to people who care to know. And even just the second that Julie Kelly initially tweeted, like, oh my God, can you believe they authorized deadly force? Already ex-FBI members, ex-DOJ people will be like, this is totally standard ops, standard. And even she continues to promote it. And so will people like Charlie Kirk. I don't know if his Twitter was full of, they just tried to kill President Trump. They tried to kill President.
Fox News ran with it. So this is to me, like, I know you square off against Julie Kelly, and it's fun to watch, and she is awful. And I know that. I think this actually began with Marjorie Taylor Greene. She tweeted it out, and then Julie Kelly signal boosted it, and then Trump came along with it. For me, the real disappointment was it wasn't even like Jesse Waters and Jeanine Pirro on Fox, even though they ran with it, but they're obviously incredible in the literal sense, like they're not credible at all. But even like the straight news part of Fox News, you had Brett Baer of all people talking about this and not shutting it down, and Shannon Bream and Maria Bartiromo, which she has a foot in both worlds. Like, that's the real scary part. You have the most popular, highly rated legacy news media in existence signal boosting this shit with no pushback. And as far as I'm aware, even though it was later reported, as you said, it was standard operating procedure. It's been the case for 24 years. It was the case for Biden's consensual search of his home. And by the way, the FBI coordinated with Secret Service to pick a day where Trump wasn't at Mar-a-Lago. So even if they wanted to assassinate him, they went about it the worst possible way.
You can't do anything to buck anything relating to Donald Trump. Like that echo chamber is probably one of the strongest politically that have ever existed.
It is a humongous echo chamber. Mm-hmm. And I said this on Twitter, you're never going to get Julie Kelly on a show where you're able to contest it, or you're able to be like, hey, I want you to say right now, for the record, did you think that Donald Trump was in danger at any point in time during the execution of that warrant? She's never going to have to answer that question, because they coexist and they have these little circle jerk shows that they go on that no one ever challenges them on. And anyone who would challenge Trump or a talking point or anything like that, they're not going to be around much longer. They don't survive.
Yeah. And also we saw that with Rubio even, right? Mm-hmm. Where it was like, would you vote for whoever wins the election? He won't fucking answer the question.
Oh, it's not just, bro. So it's Tim Scott, it's Marco Rubio, it's Ted Cruz. They're all coming out of the woodwork, because this is now the question for like the Sunday morning shows when they come on. This is one of the first questions that all the reporters ask, because now they know not only is it important, I think, but that it goes viral. An increasing number of Republican senators are not committing to accepting the results of the election. it's unhinged.
Well,
people who voted to certify last time.
Well, because you can't. You don't want to take a position right now because what if Trump loses and it becomes the new talking point that like, well, we don't accept the election. You don't want to be on record having not accepted the election because now you look like a hypocrite. So better just not take a position.
The framing of that is wrong, though, because it's saying, are you going to accept the next election? That's not the framing they should take. The framing they should take, or at least if it were a perfect world, would be, are you going to try to steal the election again in 2024 like you tried to in 2020? And this is with specific reference to people like Ted Cruz and others who were trying to steal the election from Joe Biden.
Well,
that's what happened. Yes,
I would be a little careful because technically I don't like, you do have a right to do your certification bullshit in Congress. And I don't think Ted Cruz stepped outside of what was like explicitly legally permissible, right?
Oh, no, I'm not saying they did any crime associated with it. I'm not saying that they.
Well, the only reason I point that out is because I would draw a distinction between that and like, for instance, like that elector scam, like that's like clearly.
Yeah. So I would separate trying to steal the election. It might be legal to do certain things to try to steal the election. But the truth, like I would even say the court cases, they were legal court cases. Trump had the right to bring them, but in essence, they were trying to steal the election because given the weight of the evidence that occurred and given the states of minds of those individuals, they had reason to believe that the election was free and fair, and they did it anyway. And so in my mind, those efforts to stop Joe Biden from being inaugurated were trying to steal the election. Some were legal and some were illegal. And so I would put Ted Cruz et al., including the people who signed on to one of the briefings or one of the amicus briefs, I think, in the Texas case, including people who took special measures to try to reach out to state officials, et cetera, et cetera. Those people were trying to steal election, and they're going to try again in 2024 if Biden wins.
Yeah, but to be fair, Pisco, Hillary Clinton twice in 2018 referred to Trump as illegitimate, so it's basically a wash. That's what Ted Cruz and Tim Scott and all the others say. Yeah,
it's the biggest cope there is, and people understand that. I mean, it doesn't even pass the smell test to try to compare. And that's the kind of the tactic where everything is equal, everything's the same. We're all on the even playing field, where they try to reduce every bad action that Trump has ever taken into an equal and opposite one from the other side. And in that sense, they're making these ridiculous jumps. And so yeah, I like to get into the nitty gritty of those distinctions and those alleged hypocrisy and all that stuff. And by the way, I still have a bone to pick with Stephen about one of them. But it's all bullshit. And the allegation that the Democrats in 2016 didn't, quote, accept the election in the way that Trump, quote, didn't accept the election in 2020 is obviously ridiculous.
It's all blurring together, but I think even Gorka said something like that, like tried to do the false equivalence in his conversation with Stephen.
Gorka? I didn't watch that. Yeah, how was that?
Horrible. Exactly as you would expect it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did extremely well, but I'm actually pissed because there was apparently a second half of that conversation or something where you guys talk about January 6th, but it's behind a trigonometry paywall. And you got to like register.
But it's like a 20 or 30 minute thing. I brought up the elector scheme, and I don't think either of them had heard of it, which was funny to me. Or Gorka pretend he didn't, and the host didn't. So I was like, okay.
Hadn't heard about the elector scheme?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I understand why Gorka would feign ignorance. I believe the Konstantin Kisin guy, I have no doubt that his ignorance was sincere because, again, it's that enlightened centrist bullshit where he could probably rattle off everything
about Hunter Biden has ever.
Yes, exactly. Right. And he doesn't know fuck all about Jared Kushner.
Yeah, they don't inform themselves of those stories that are like against their narrative, just like Stephen is.
Like he's asked about the Biden thing and the senility thing.
You haven't even read like summaries of it, have you?
Nope.
Yeah. What did Biden do? What?
He's mad because of Biden intentionally holding some classified stuff, and he thinks that I'm being a partisan hack because I haven't like read through this 400-page thing that quotes were taken out of for showing wrongdoing by Biden or whatever.
I read it. I don't think that I'm going to vote for Biden. I'm a big Biden supporter. Go Biden. I just think that if this were a Trump thing, you'd have read it. You don't agree with that?
No, I haven't covered almost anything going on recently relating to Trump for like the past like 3 or 4 months. Like I dipped a little bit into the immigration stuff when you were here, and then I've done a little bit of the court case stuff. I think for one day I would have feel about it, but it's okay. You're always free to believe what you want. Pisco.
What do you think about, before I dip out of here because I got a thing at 5, but what do you think about the Trump immunity thing? So I sent Stephen this link, and I'll send it to you too. Apparently Justice Sotomayor gave an interview, and she made this comment, something like, there are days that I've come to my office after an announcement of a case, closed my door and cried. There have been those days, and there are likely to be more. And a lot of people are reading the tea leaves that this is her basically saying that the court will rule in Trump's favor on immunity.
Wait. What was that quote again? Can you read me that again?
Yeah, so there are days I've come to my office after an announcement of a case, closed my door, and cried. This is Justice Sotomayor. There have been those days, and here are likely to be more. And people are speculating, since that case they've not announced the verdict on that immunity case, and apparently
it's impossible. That cannot happen.
Well,
it's impossible.
Steven, I'm going to give you the bad news first. Okay.
Okay.
Whatever decision this is going to be, in my opinion, just like I predicted that they were going to lose the Anderson case. I did predict that. Thank you.
Well, that was
yes. Well, but I predicted it. I did predict it.
that. But okay.
I want to be 100% clear that I don't miss with my predictions.
Okay.
Sometimes. I think it's going to be a 5-4 decision, or the liberals will all be in dissent. But it's not going to be a unanimous court upholding.
You don't think they're going to kick the questions back to the lower court to do more fact-finding?
Yeah.
That's what I would have assumed.
I think that's possible.
You can't rule on something like this and not want to touch anything else because you think it's too electorally divisive, right? Like, there is no shot that you can say things like, well, we care about the cohesiveness of the country and blah, 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 blah. And also the president is unlimited. The president of the United States of America, a country that rebelled against a tyrannical monarch, okay, that our president is above all criminal prosecution. That's impossible.
It's disappointing that this was granted in the first place. Just to be like, if you're ever trying to read the tea leaves of the Supreme Court, if a case is granted on appeal, usually they're going to reverse it in some way.
Okay.
And so I think that they're not going to accept the holding of the DC Circuit Court. I think that from the oral argument, that seems to be they're trying to find a way to not accept those holdings, and you're not going to get the case, probably the DC case, before the election. Not that necessarily it should happen before the election, but that's me reading the tea leaves. I think that they're going to.
I got to go. I wish I could stay here longer. I'll pop back in later. See you, fella.
Later.
Loser. Got him.
Yeah, you got him. One last thing for you, since we're talking about the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
The flags. Have you heard about the flags?
No. What is it?
The Justice Alito flags.
Oh, is this something about him? Like, should he be allowed to fly Didn't you guys have a debate on this yesterday?
I didn't have a debate about anything yesterday.
Oh, it might have been Econoboy and Jessiah. But what about it? I think they debated on whether or not Justice Alito should be able to show political partisanship or something.
You and I have had discussions about flags before.
Okay.
Do you remember the gay flag conversation we had about, like, whether or not you should put it in the White House?
We might have, yeah. What about it? I don't remember that well, but yeah.
You said at that time that, like, the White House shouldn't be flying an LGBT flag of any kind.
Was that my final position?
I think so.
I feel like when I debated I think on the statue thing, I think originally I was like, we probably shouldn't tear down old statues, but then it was either you or somebody else said like, well, these are city councils or whatever buildings, and they're supposed to represent their current people, and the people don't want it, and they're paying money for it, like, shouldn't it represent? I was like, oh, okay, sure. So I would disagree with them in spirit, but they should have the right to do it. I don't know why I wouldn't have the same position on the White House stuff. Like, I would have to go revisit it, I guess. I'm not sure.
Got it. So Alito, I think everyone should agree he has the right to wave whatever flag he wants. But would you critique him?
I don't know. Or the right to, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
As in, like, the right to. But I would critique him, and I don't want to say that anything that his wife does, necessarily he does. So just to make that clear, I think that people are allowed to be separate from their spouse. I don't believe that there's just because you're married to someone that you're just one thing. I think that people are allowed to have political lives separate from their partner. But if it's the case that these flags were done with an eye towards MAGA or an eye towards insurrection, and if Justice Alito had a role in the displaying of those flags, do you think that he should recuse himself from the Trump MAGA related cases? Like
legally, or like should he?
As a matter of discretion, matter of judicial ethics.
Yes, 1 trillion, quadrillion %. If I'm to take anything they've said thus far at face value, which is that like partisanship and all of that shouldn't be, like, if they're so obsessed with the legitimacy of the court, I can't think of a better way to destroy your legitimacy than to make massive rulings while flying flags of politicians outside your house, especially as the Supreme fucking Court.
Pretty based. That's all I have.
Oh, that's kind of wild. Right?
Yeah, they found, so one of the flags is, just to give full context before everyone in the YouTube comments, like, tries to attack me or whatever. One of the flags was the American flag upside down, and apparently that was a way that people at that time, this was all during the up to inauguration, they were signaling that the election was stolen or that they supported Trump. And Mrs. Alito or Justice Alito said that this was in distress. It was a response to a neighbor or something. And so it was just a distress signal or something. I don't know what that means. But there are people who are skeptical of that, but others who accept it. And the second flag, I think, is some religious flag that or has some religious connotations, which used to be an older flag that kind of went into obscurity, but was sort of retaken by a lot of MAGA people in the 21st century and stuff. And so that flag was hoisted up in their vacation home somewhere, I think. And that's the second flag that they found images of on Google Earth. And they proved that that flag was hoisted up in Alito's summer house. So those are the two flags.
I feel like
that's the context.
If you're a Supreme Court justice, I feel like you should probably try to present yourself as pretty apolitical, right?
I think so.
If the legitimacy of the court is something that you care about.
Do you care about it?
Yeah, of course. It's our highest source of interpretation of law, right?
Yeah. Do you love the Supreme Court?
I think it's a pretty cool institution, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's cool too.
How do other countries must have Supreme Courts, right?
Yeah, some do. Some don't have as much power as our courts do.
Sure.
I mean, our courts have power to really interpret law in a big major way and like strike down acts of Congress.
What do other parliaments do if they disagree on like the interpretation of a bill?
I think in the United Kingdom, Parliament could overrule the courts. I think it's possible, but oftentimes I think they just take the opinion of the courts, I think.
Huh.
But again, I'm not an expert in bonger politics.
True.
I do know they're having an election pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, supposedly the Labor's, it's supposed to be a bloodbath. The Conservatives are going to get slaughtered, supposedly. But I don't know anything about what's going on over there right now. So.
A lot of inflation stuff, a lot of cost of living. Same shit we're dealing with, except our economy based, I think. Do you think the economy's good?
It seems to be. There's still like a couple problems, but it seems pretty good right now. But I don't know. Obviously, people have very strong opinions on that based on their political orientation. So,
true. How's everything else, buddy?
Pretty good, I think. Yeah, just been memeing and streaming, and yeah.
Well, best of luck with everything. Great to catch up with you. Hope you're doing well. I really think we should do something in the run up to the 2024 election. I think we need some energy in the pro-Biden movement. I feel like a lot of the, the events have been structured around kind of like the danger of Trump, but not a lot of like very vigorous pro-Biden type events. I think that there should be some more energy among the young supporters, because I think this administration deserves your vote, especially if you're young. So I'm looking to get involved. I think everyone should start to get involved as the election starts swinging. It's a really important one, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Good. And yeah, we'll have fun for it. Yeah.
All right. Later.
Only if you want to win. Maybe only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Thank you, D-Roy. Thank you. No, only do that if you want to win. If you want to lose, don't do that. Keep getting your 3% every 4 years. The reasons for doing so, policy and politics, are as only.
I don't even know. Okay.
Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for president of the United States. Whoa. That's nice. That's nice. Only if you want to win. Only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win.
Oh, I understand more of that other speech now. Oh.
Maybe you don't want to win.
Wait, why is he giving a speech at a Libertarian Party convention? Maybe he just showed up. Why would he be here? Maybe he's one of those retarded Republicans who thinks that like libertarian and Republican is like the same thing. Trump is just retarded. He's not even a Republican. I don't know why I said that. Trump is just retarded. Okay.